Sanctuary panel. Give a warm BlizzCon welcome to our Diablo 3 development team.
Oh, perfect. What's up with this? Oh, someone left a drink here.
Hello, BlizzCon. How you all doing? Hey, our clicker works. So awesome. Hooray for the clicker! All right, so my name's Jay Wilson. I'm the game director on Diablo 3, and we have a bunch of cool stuff to show you today. Before we start, I'm going to introduce all the lovely people with me. As I mentioned my name already. To my left is Kevin Martins. He's our lead content designer. Josh Tallman, concept artist. Pete Cooper, senior environment artist. Pete. Jason Bender, senior system designer. Jill Harrington, senior technical artist. Steve Shimizu, lead gameplay programmer. Christian Leichner, our art director. And Michael Nicholson, senior user interface artist. Woo! Let's hear it for UI. So, war is coming to the world of Sanctuary, and it's a war unlike Sanctuary has ever seen. 20 years ago in the Diablo universe, the three, Baal, Mephisto, Diablo, they were taken down by humanity. Yeah, and thank you for that, by the way. We appreciate it. So, hell shuddered in fear. They've spent the last 20 years preparing for their revenge. So today what we're going to talk to you about is how we build a world under siege by all of the forces of hell. We're going to start with story and go into environment, and we're also going to show you a little bit about the tools of the trade that you're going to use to fight that coming war. So I'm going to turn it over to Kevin.
Okay, everyone. So Diablo 3 is an action game with a very blistering pace. It's very fast-paced, and everything comes at you. You know, you're killing monsters and killing loot. You're clicking on everything that moves and utterly destroying it. So there's some unique challenges in that in storytelling. So I want to show you guys a little bit about how we do action storytelling. So we have a philosophy at Blizzard that we say, play, don't tell. And whenever possible, we want players to experience the events of the story, to personally partake in the twist instead of just seeing it in a cinematic or a dialogue, etc. No matter how spectacular, you feeling it yourself is better. So we haven't always done a great job at this, and I want to show you guys an example from Diablo 2 that could have been better.
I'm not surprised to see your kind here. Many adventurers have traveled this way since the recent troubles began.
He goes on.
No doubt you've heard about the tragedy that befell the town of Tristram. Some say that Diablo, the Lord of Terror, walks the world again. I don't know if I believe that. But a dark wanderer did travel this route a few weeks ago. He was headed east to the mountain pass guarded by the rogue monastery. Maybe it's nothing, but evil seems to have traded.
War's a good man, but he just won't shut up. And, you know, in Diablo, you really want to click on everything that moves until it blows up in bloody chunks and treasure. So, yay, treasure! So, in Diablo 3, I want to show you guys an example that we have in the demo, so you can go and see this for yourself. And this is action storytelling. So in this case, you're going to get a little quest from this man. He's a weaponsmith who's been betrayed by somebody working with the evil cults. And he will tell you what he needs from you as he joins behind you. So he'll be talking and you can keep moving. Then the video is going to fade to the end of the plot where you have the showdown with the villain and an occultist leader who is ultimately behind it all. And all of that happens while you keep playing as well. So all of the talking is kept very short, and there's no dialogues that are anywhere near 1 minute and 4 seconds long, for example. No matter how slowly Warav talks, we're going to have him talk only just a tiny bit. And here we go.
I will make an example of Dargon, that traitorous cur. Help me hunt him, and I will sell to you instead of those zealots.
Master, help me. The crazed weapon maker wants my head.
What makes you think I care for your life? Kill them, my pets. Now the Dargon is dead, no one shall question my reputation or my resolve. Now to my goods. You'll find none better.
All right. So the other thing we want to talk to you about is opt-in storytelling. In Diablo 3, we actually have a lot more story depth. There's more lore, there's more conversations, there's more information, there's more things to read and listen to. But all of it, not all of it, the vast majority of it is opt-in. The player can experience it when he wants to. A great example of this is lore books. Lore books are objects that fall as treasure, and when you click on them, they automatically start playing an audio file where the narrator, the person who wrote the book that you found, is reading it out loud. So they have a little bit of voice acting, they're interesting, and it takes no more time than simply clicking on it to pick it up, and you're already experiencing the story, and you can keep running along killing monsters while you listen to it. So let's see one in action.
I am convinced that some malevolent being is attempting to wrest control of my thoughts away from me. I hear voices directing me to horrendous acts. And there are times when I seem unable to control my body. Lazarus knows. I am certain of this.
So this example that you're hearing is actually King Leoric. King Leoric was a king in the region of Tristram, and he went insane when Diablo tried to take over his mind. He successfully fought it off, but just being associated with Diablo drove him mad. And you actually hear him writing about his experiences as he slowly becomes the Skeleton King. So we're not just giving depth to existing characters, we're also filling out some of the stuff from the previous game. So a lot of interesting things there. So once you have a good story and you found some good storytelling techniques, your next challenge is to find a good scenario, a good level, and a way that ultimately a story can become something that's bigger than the sum of its parts. So a perfect story for a Diablo game is a siege. Basically, everyone understands it instantly. It requires very little explanation. Whether you're an attacker or a defender, everyone knows how a siege works. More than that, it's easy to design awesome action for. So Diablo gameplay is killing monsters, collecting loot, making new loot, etc. If you have the walls of a keep that's being besieged by demons, and in a few seconds we're going to show you Bastion's Keep and an army of demons, the biggest army of demons that has ever besieged the world of Sanctuary, you're the only person that stands between them and total annihilation. When you're just going and wiping out monsters on the wall, it feels way cooler and way more important than just some random area that you're going into. You're literally stopping a demon army, so that same gameplay becomes that much better. So in that case, that's a good example of the action implying story. We don't have to tell you what the stakes are, we just have to tell you there's a giant army, set you loose, and you fill in the rest yourself. So we're going to show you the walls of Bastion's Keep and how we built them and so on in just a minute, and we're also going to show you the inside of the keep. At a certain part in this story, demon sappers break into the bottom of the keep and start pouring up through. So the defenders are unprepared for this, and you have to run down and clear out the dungeon. So that same classic RPG and classic Diablo gameplay of wiping out a dungeon feels super awesome when you know you're saving all of humanity to do it. All right, so let's pass this over to Art and show you guys how we build these.
All right, so when design and story come up with an idea like that for gameplay, it's then concept team's job to take over and to give that idea visual form. So when we were told that there was going to be a siege portion of the game, one of the first images that popped up in our heads was the image of a battleship. Now, on a battleship, there are a lot of shapes that really reinforce the idea that it's supposed to be this impenetrable fortress. So we decided to work those ideas into our early sketches and see how they turned out. If you look at some of those, for example, maybe you see that giant iron spike-like thing hanging off a chain kind of reminds you of an anchor, or the walkways of the fortress are already kind of long and elongated. They kind of resemble a ship anyway. So instead of having archers, maybe we should have giant ballistas on rotating platforms. It kind of reminds you of the guns on a gunship. And maybe instead of round towers or your typical square towers, we could have the towers be triangles to remind you of the bow of a battleship. And that triangular shape is something that all of us actually really liked. because of its iconic properties, and we decided to use it as the main visual theme for the entire area. So we decided to put variations of the triangle all over the columns, the doorways, the walkways, the towers, and it really gave it this unified feel that made it look like it was designed by one architect, which was a good thing. So after that, it was time to define the materials, and for the materials, we chose just simple stone and iron. They're simple materials, but they're also very easy to read from our game cam, and they're easy to understand as far as like what it's made out of and that it's very strong and sturdy. So that was the first pass. After the first pass, what we have to do is show it to the team. We take their feedback and incorporate whatever they want to see into the concepts and try to do away with anything else that isn't really working. So one piece of feedback that we heard often was that while the first pass looked good, it was designed well, it felt a little too ornate and frail, so we addressed mainly the iron portions. We made the iron darker, we made it chunkier, the shapes got simpler but a little more aggressive. They're just big pieces of crude iron bolted onto this fortress for structural and protective support. The stone and the iron, the stone got lighter, the iron got darker, so there was a better contrast between the materials. Even the stone itself got a little chunkier and had a little hints of those triangular shapes in it. So, after that, we have to get our images ready for the modeler. And as a concept department, we really try to concentrate on putting as much information into one image as possible, or into a single image as possible. So if you look at this, the tone is decided, the mood's there, the color's there, the materials are there. But if you divide this image up, you have a lot of smaller components that the modelers can take and build out a lot of small modular parts out of. And this way, if they want to come up with a wide variety of layouts, it's very easy to do. And if we have to go back and change things, it's also very easy to move things around. So that was the outside, and now what's left is the inside. For the inside, we wanted to change the mood over from this aggressive, hostile battlefield feeling to a more warm, a little more lived in, a slightly more inviting feeling, because the battle's going on the outside, but the soldiers are either escaping the battle or preparing for the battle on the inside. So we decided to do away with a lot of those triangular shapes and maybe replace it with more squarish shapes. They're both angular shapes, but a square is a lot less aggressive than a triangle. We also got rid of a lot of the iron and replaced it with wood, because the color of wood is already warm enough, and as a material, it's just not as threatening as any kind of iron. And to reinforce the idea that the inside is where the soldiers are, we wanted to populate it with a lot of props or devices that they'd be using, like catapults you see up there, ballistas, or mills or forges, things that they'll be using to prepare for the battle on the outside. So when you put all that together, you get something like this, where you have the same kind of stone as the outside, you don't have as much iron, there's a lot more wood, there's devices that they use for the battle, and you definitely have a mood that has changed from a hostile battlefield to this uneasy, nervous, kind of calm before the storm kind of vibe to get you ready for what's happening on the outside. And to show you how we take a concept like this and build a level out of it, Pete's going to take over and show you how that's done.
Thanks, Josh. Great job. So when we get a concept like this from our amazing concept department, we sit down on the environment team and have a meeting and figure out how we're going to turn this into in-game assets. This particular concept is actually really fantastic because from this one shot we get a lot of mood and depth, and we get all the materials we need. So it's incredibly useful. So in this, we figure out how we're going to break it up into components, walls and floors and pillars and etc. So once we have that, we start building. So here's a quick video showing GRAYBOX version. So we build walls, pillars, bridges. We figure out the gameplay space. In this portion of building, there's a lot of back and forth between us and design to figure out the gameplay space, make sure it feels doesn't feel too confined, doesn't feel too open, has a nice feel, nice flow